Welcome back to the Warp Gate, everyone. Today we're kicking off
This is going to be
a
good.
brand new series
Yeah.
that's going to take us deep into the heart of the Imperium,
To the very heart of it.
exploring some of the most legendary figures in its history, the Primarchs.
Yeah, these are figures whose every action, every victory, and even defeat
Right.
has shaped the very fate of humanity.
Huge.
We're talking about demigods, engineered by the Emperor himself, wielding power
Oh, yeah.
that could level mountains.
I mean, it's crazy.
But what makes them truly captivating
Right.
is that they're not just weapons.
Oh, for sure.
They're complex individuals, each with their own desires,
Yeah.
flaws,
Oh, yeah.
and ambitions.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so exciting.
Oh, absolutely.
We're not just recounting battles and conquests.
No.
We're trying to
Well,
understand
deeper.
the minds and motivations of these beings
Right.
who were quite literally forged to decide the destiny of billions.
I mean, talk about pressure. Yeah. And then there's the sheer mystery surrounding them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Where did they come from?
I mean,
What happened to the lost Primarchs?
right.
Are they truly human?
Yeah.
Or something more?
It's a question for the ages.
Those are questions that have plagued scholars and strategists
Oh, yeah.
for millennia.
Millennium.
But for this first foray
Are you?
into the world of the Primarchs,
Yeah.
we're going to focus on a figure whose origins are as shrouded
Ugh.
as the legion he commands. Lionel Johnson,
Okay.
Primarch of the Dark Angels,
Right.
the First Legion,
Ah, the lion.
a name that strikes fear
Oh, yeah.
to the hearts of heretics and Xenos alike.
But before we dive into his exploits as a Primarch leading legions and
Right.
conquering worlds,
Yeah.
we need to understand the crucible that forged him.
The place where it all began?
The Inquisition reveals that, unlike many of his brothers who were found amongst established human civilizations,
Raised in palaces,
the palaces, right?
schooled in diplomacy,
All that.
Lionel Johnson landed on a death world known as Caliban.
Now, Caliban's a very different story.
Imagine a planet perpetually cloaked in twilight.
Oh, wow.
A world of dense primeval forests.
Okay.
Where danger lurks around every shadowed corner.
That sounds lovely already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Caliban was a world overrun by monstrous creatures
Okay.
called great beasts.
Great beasts.
Twisted abominations spawned by the warp.
Okay, so we already got warp shenanigans going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Driven by primal rage and a hunger for destruction.
Now, that doesn't sound like the ideal environment for a child to grow up in, to say the least.
Really not at all.
I mean, what would it even be like to survive on a planet like that?
I mean, just picture it.
Yeah.
Constantly facing these great beasts.
The records from that time are fragmentary.
Yeah, it's hard to get a clear picture
Yeah.
pieced together from scattered accounts and
Well,
recovered artifacts.
okay.
But they paint a grim picture.
Yeah,
The great beasts were a constant threat to the human settlements on Caliban,
I can imagine.
raiding villages, disrupting supply lines,
Yeah.
and spreading terror wherever they went.
So really a plague on the land.
They were a plague upon the land.
And it was into this chaotic world that a Primarch fell,
Just dropped right in.
according to the Adeptus Administratum archives.
Yeah, those dusty old scrolls.
Old Johnson survived alone for a decade,
A decade.
honing his skills against these beasts,
Oh, he was learning.
becoming a master hunter, a predator amongst predators.
He's the best of the best.
It's almost impossible to imagine.
Try to put yourself in his shoes.
Yeah.
It speaks to the inherent resilience
Oh, yeah.
and adaptability of the Primarchs,
Yeah.
even at a young age.
Yeah.
L. Johnson displayed an uncanny ability
Right.
to not only survive,
Right.
but thrive
Thrive in this environment.
in a hostile environment.
It's crazy.
But more importantly, this period of isolation had a profound impact on his personality,
Well, I bet.
fostering a sense of self-reliance
Makes sense.
and a detachment that would later set him apart from his brothers.
Interesting. So he wasn't raised in a palace or schooled in diplomacy.
No, none of that.
He was forged in the fires of survival,
Trial by fire.
constantly tested, constantly pushing his limits.
Every single day.
It makes you wonder if this primal upbringing
Oh, yeah.
contributed to the shadowy nature of the Dark Angels.
I mean, it's got to have some impact, right?
Right.
That's a fascinating point and one that warrants further exploration as we delve deeper into the lion's story.
Okay.
But this period of isolation wasn't to last forever.
Right.
The librarius records tell of his eventual discovery by a knight named Luther,
Okay, Luther.
a member of the order, a warrior organization dedicated to protecting Caliban.
Protecting Caliban. So they're fighting these great beasts.
From the very beasts that El Johnson had mastered.
The Order.
Yeah.
Now, they were basically the guardians of Caliban, right?
That's a good way to put it.
A brotherhood of knights fighting a seemingly endless war against these horrors.
Yeah, it was a tough life.
I bet they were pretty surprised to find a kid out in the wilds who could hold his own against these creatures.
Imagine the shock, the disbelief.
Yeah.
Here was a child, barely more than a boy, moving with the grace and ferocity of a seasoned warrior,
Oh, wow.
capable of feats
Right.
that seasoned knights could only dream of.
Yeah.
Luther, to his credit, recognized the potential within El Johnson.
He saw something special.
He saw not a threat, but a chance to guide this extraordinary being.
I mean, what a moment.
It must have been.
Yeah.
So Luther became El Johnson's mentor.
Okay, so now we got the grizzled veteran knight
Yeah, the old warrior.
taking this feral Primarch under his wing.
Teaching him the ways of the order,
Interesting dynamic.
instilling in him a sense of honor and duty.
Okay,
He recognized that the Primarch was more than just a weapon.
right.
He was a leader in the making,
Okay.
someone who could potentially unite the disparate knightly factions of Caliban
Oh, wow.
and finally bring peace to their world.
That's a huge task. It was a monumental task.
And El Johnson seems to have been a quick study.
Oh, he was a prodigy.
He rose rapidly through the ranks of the order,
Like a comet.
impressing everyone with his intellect and tactical genius.
He was the real deal.
He wasn't just a brutal fighter.
No?
He was a brilliant strategist, a leader who could inspire and command.
A true leader.
Exactly. His impact was immediate and profound.
He changed the game.
He brought a new level of coordination and discipline to the order,
Yeah, he whipped them into shape,
unifying their efforts, refining their tactics,
sharpening their blades,
and turning the tide against the great beasts.
finally gaining ground.
He spearheaded a series of campaigns
Campaign after campaign.
that culminated in the Great Beast Purge,
The final showdown.
a legendary conflict that cemented his status as a hero on Caliban.
A legend was born.
So we have this incredible story of a Primarch
It's quite a tale.
raised by a knightly order,
Trained by the best,
battling monstrous creatures,
facing down nightmares, and ultimately becoming the savior of his adopted world.
the hero of Caliban.
It's almost like something out of a myth, isn't it?
It has that epic feel.
But all of this was happening while another force was moving across the galaxy.
Oh, yeah.
His father,
The big guy.
the Emperor of Mankind.
The Emperor.
The Emperor, at the height of his power, was engaged in the Great Crusade,
A galaxy-spanning undertaking,
a monumental effort to reunite humanity under his banner.
bringing the lost human worlds back into the fold.
It's incredible.
But central to his vision
Right.
was the recovery of his lost sons.
Oh, wow.
The Primarchs scattered across the galaxy during their infancy.
So while all of this is going on with the lion,
Yeah.
the Emperor is looking for his sons.
Desperately trying to find them.
It's hard to even grasp the scale of that endeavor.
No, it's mind-boggling.
A galaxy-spanning search for beings that were essentially demigods,
The most powerful beings in the galaxy.
each with the potential to shape the course of history.
The fate of humanity resting on their shoulders.
And eventually, the Emperor's search led him to Caliban,
Destiny brought them together.
to the very world where Lionel Johnson had risen to prominence.
What a meeting that must have been.
Can you describe that moment,
Oh, it's legendary.
the meeting of father and son?
It's a moment shrouded in legend,
Okay.
accounted in hushed tones within the hallowed halls of the imperial palace.
Right.
The Emperor, the master of mankind, arriving on Caliban,
Wow.
a world teetering on the brink of destruction.
And L. Johnson,
Standing tall.
the Lion of Caliban, the warrior king who had brought order to chaos,
The hero.
standing before his creator,
Face to face.
acknowledging his destiny.
Accepting his true heritage.
It's a powerful image.
Full of symbolism.
The emperor representing order and progress,
The guiding light of humanity.
meeting his son who had been forged in the fires of a death world,
A warrior born in darkness.
embodying both strength and a certain darkness.
A duality within him.
Makes you wonder what the emperor saw in his son.
What did he think?
What he thought of this Primarch, who had walked such a different path than his brothers.
A unique path.
We can only speculate, but the records show
Yes, the official record.
that the emperor bestowed upon L. Johnson command of the First Legion,
A great honor.
the Dark Angels,
The First Legion.
a force already renowned for their discipline and martial prowess,
A formidable force.
and under the Lion's leadership, they were transformed,
Oh, he took them to a whole new level.
becoming a weapon of unparalleled precision and lethality.
A weapon of unmatched power.
So L. Johnson embraced his heritage, his destiny as a Primarch.
He accepted his fate.
He left behind the world he had saved
Caliban, the world he had conquered.
and joined the Great Crusade,
Joining his brothers.
leading the Dark Angels on a series of conquests,
Victory after victory.
expanding the Imperium's reach across the stars.
Spreading the light of the Emperor.
But his journey wasn't without its challenges.
There were trials ahead.
The Rangdan Xenocides,
Oh, a dark chapter.
conflict cloaked in secrecy,
Shrouded in mystery.
tested the Lion and his legion like never before.
They faced a foe unlike any other.
The Rangda were a Xenos species, unlike any the Imperium had encountered.
A true alien menace.
Their technology was advanced, their tactics ruthless,
They were relentless.
and their drive for conquest insatiable.
They wanted it all.
They were a plague upon the galaxy,
Consuming everything in their path.
consuming entire star systems,
Leaving nothing but ruin.
leaving behind only silent, lifeless husks.
A trail of destruction.
What made the Rangda so different, so dangerous, compared to other Xenos threats the Imperium had faced during the Great Crusade?
Well, it was their utter ruthlessness.
Okay.
Their utter lack of empathy or compassion.
No mercy.
They waged war not for territory or resources,
Not for any logical reason.
but for the sheer joy of conquest.
Wow.
The pleasure of seeing entire civilizations crumble before them.
But that's chilling.
They were a force of pure annihilation.
Yeah.
And the Imperium, for all its might, was ill-prepared for such an enemy.
So a completely different kind of enemy than they'd ever faced
A
before.
whole new level of threat.
And it was the Dark Angels,
The Lion's Own Legion.
under the Lion's command, who played a pivotal role in stopping them.
They stood against the tide.
The battles were brutal, fought across vast distances,
A galaxy-spanning war.
on countless worlds.
World after world.
The casualties were staggering.
A heavy price was paid.
But in the end, the Lion's strategic brilliance,
His genius shone through.
combined with the unflinching courage of the Dark Angels, prevailed.
They would not be broken.
They wouldn't be broken.
The Rangdan Xenocides were a victory.
Right, but a costly one.
But a Pyrrhic one.
The Dark Angels suffered heavy losses,
Many good warriors fell.
and the horrors they faced left an indelible mark on the Legion.
It changed them forever.
It also reinforced their tendency towards secrecy,
The need to keep their secrets.
a desire to keep their burdens, their knowledge of the true darkness
The darkness they had seen.
that lurks in the galaxy, hidden from the wider Imperium.
Protecting the Imperium from knowledge that could break them.
It's almost as if the Rangdan Xenocides were a turning point for the Dark Angels,
A defining moment.
a moment where they truly embraced the shadows, the need to operate in secrecy,
They became the Emperor's hidden hand,
to become the Emperor's hidden hand.
operating in the darkness.
But it wasn't just Xenos threats that challenged the Lion.
No.
The Imperial records hint at rivalries
Oh, there were rivalries.
and strained alliances among the Primarchs themselves.
They weren't always a happy family.
He didn't always see eye to eye with his brothers, did he?
No, he did not.
The Primarchs, for all their shared heritage
Of the Emperor.
and common purpose,
The Great Crusades.
for individuals each shaped by their unique experiences,
Each with their own story.
each driven by their own ambitions and philosophies.
Different paths, different goals.
There were clashes of personalities, disagreements on strategy,
It is inevitable.
and sometimes outright animosity.
Some just didn't get along.
The most notable of these rivalries.
Oh yeah, a legendary rivalry.
It was with Lyman Russ, Primarch of the Space Wolves.
the Wolf King.
Two powerful figures,
Mm.
both incredibly skilled warriors and leaders,
Titans clashing.
but with vastly different approaches to warfare.
Two sides of the same coin.
What was at the heart of this conflict?
Well, it was a clash of styles.
Okay.
A fundamental difference in how they viewed war.
Okay.
How they saw their role in the Great Crusade.
Got it.
Russ was a warrior king leading from the front,
Yeah.
embodying the ferocity and
Ah.
primal power of his legion.
The wolf leading the pack.
He was a whirlwind of destruction,
A force of nature.
a force of nature unleashed upon the enemies of the Imperium.
And the lion.
The lion was a strategist,
Okay.
a master of planning and deception.
More calculated.
He preferred precision strikes,
Okay.
calculated maneuvers,
Aye.
and the strategic deployment of his forces.
Very different.
He saw war as a game of chess.
Oh, interesting.
He played with cunning and foresight, not brute force.
So while Russ was the hammer,
Yeah, the blunt instrument.
the lion was the scalpel,
Precise and deadly.
surgically dissecting his enemies, exploiting their weaknesses with deadly precision.
A master of the killing blow.
It's fascinating to see how these two approaches to warfare
Yeah, it's a reflection of their personalities,
reflected their personalities, their very beings.
their core essence.
And of course, this clash of styles, this fundamental difference in philosophy,
Two different ways of seeing the world.
led to tension, to a rivalry
It was inevitable.
that would simmer throughout the Great Crusade.
Always bubbling beneath the surface.
Indeed. Their relationship was complex,
A tangled web.
marked by both respect and mistrust.
A grudging respect.
There were moments of cooperation,
when they had to work together.
of begrudging admiration,
Recognizing each other's strength.
but always beneath the surface a sense of competition,
The alpha predators circling each other.
of two alpha predators vying for dominance.
That's clash of titans.
And this tension, this rivalry would have devastating consequences.
Oh, yes, the consequences were dire.
When the galaxy was plunged into the fires of the Horus Heresy.
Horus Heresy.
Ah, the Horus Heresy. A betrayal that shattered the Emperor's dream
A tragedy for the ages.
and plunged the galaxy into darkness.
The galaxy burned.
A turning point in the history of the Imperium,
At a defining moment.
and one that would test the loyalty and resolve of every Primarch.
Every Primarch was put to the test.
Where did the Lion stand when Horus turned against his father?
Well, the Lion, as always, was cautious, calculating.
Okay,
He didn't rush to judgment,
right.
didn't allow his emotions to cloud his thinking.
So he's thinking strategically.
He gathered information,
Yeah.
analyzed the situation,
Taking it all in.
and waited for the right moment to act.
He's not going to jump into anything without thinking it through.
The Lion is always thinking ahead.
So while other Primarchs like Sanguinius or Jagatai Khan
The Warhawk,
immediately pledged their loyalty to the Emperor,
declaring their allegiance,
the Lion hesitated, taking a more measured approach.
he was more cautious.
It makes you wonder if his upbringing on Caliban,
That harsh world.
his experience battling the insidious influence of chaos in the form of the great beasts,
Fighting the darkness from a young age.
made him more aware of the subtle ways in which the warp could corrupt.
Yeah, that insidious corruption.
Even the most noble of hearts.
Even a Primarch's heart.
That's a very insightful observation.
The Lion had seen firsthand the insidious nature of chaos.
Yeah, he knew what it could do.
Its ability to twist and corrupt even the purest intentions.
It's a terrifying thought.
He understood that the heresy was more than just a rebellion.
It was more than just a war.
It was a war for the very soul of humanity.
The fate of humanity was at stake.
So while other Primarchs rushed into battle,
Yeah, eager to fight.
eager to confront Horus and his traitorous legions,
To stop the
the
traitor.
Lion took a step back,
He was thinking strategically.
assessing the situation,
Yeah,
trying to understand the true scope of the threat.
trying to figure out what was really going on.
Yeah, exactly. He was playing a different game.
Oh, okay, so he's not just thinking about the immediate battle.
No.
He's thinking about the long game.
One that required patience, cunning,
Yeah.
and a deep understanding of his enemy.
He knew his enemy.
He knew that the heresy was a multidimensional conflict.
So it's not just about military battles.
No.
It's about something more.
A war fought on countless fronts.
Right.
Both physical
Right.
and psychological.
A war for the minds of men.
And he wasn't about to make a move
No.
until he was certain of the consequences.
He had to be sure.
And one of the most intriguing aspects
Oh, yeah.
of the Lion's involvement in the Horus Heresy
Right?
is his conflict with Conrad Kurz,
Oh, this is going to be good.
the Night Haunter,
Okay, the Night Haunter.
Primarch of the Night Lords.
Now, Kurz was a very different kind of Primarch, wasn't he?
Kurz was a creature of darkness,
Okay.
a predator who embraced terror as a weapon.
Terror as a weapon that's frightening.
He was driven by a twisted sense of justice, a
Okay.
belief that humanity could only be saved through fear and punishment.
A very different philosophy.
His methods were brutal,
Brutal.
his tactics cruel,
Cruel.
and his very presence exuded an aura of dread.
So a very intimidating figure.
He was the embodiment of fear,
He was basically the embodiment of everything the Lion had fought against on Caliban.
the dark side of the coin.
The dark reflection of the Lion's own shadowed nature.
Two sides of the same coin.
And the Imperial records detail a harrowing campaign
Oh, a brutal campaign.
between these two Primarchs during the Thramas Crusade.
The Thramas Crusade.
A conflict that pushed both of them to their limits.
They tested each other like never before.
The Thramas Crusade was a nightmare, a descent into the heart of darkness.
A true test of their resolve.
Kurz, with his mastery of psychological warfare,
Oh, he was a master manipulator.
sought to break the line,
To expose his weaknesses.
to expose the darkness he believed lurked beneath the surface.
to break him from the inside.
Of every Primarch.
He believed that darkness was within them all.
He used terror and
His
deception,
favorite tools.
preying on the fears and doubts of his enemies.
Turning their own minds against them.
And the Lion.
Ah.
How did he face this onslaught of psychological warfare?
Well, the Lion, for all his stoicism and discipline, was not immune to the psychological pressures of war.
Even he could be affected.
Kurza's tactics tested his resolve.
It was a true challenge.
Forced him to confront his own inner demons.
To face his own darkness.
The darkness he had carried with him from Caliban.
The darkness that was always there.
The battles were brutal,
Yeah.
fought in the shadows.
In the shadow.
In the twisting corridors of besieged cities.
Oh, wow.
In the depths of haunted forests.
The true nightmare.
It was a war of attrition.
Yeah.
Not just of bodies, but of minds.
A war for the soul.
And in the end,
Yeah.
the Lion emerged victorious.
He won.
But the victory was a hollow one.
A Pyrrhic victory.
The Thramas Crusade left its mark on him,
It scarred him.
a scar that would never truly heal.
So even in victory, he was wounded.
Indeed, the Thramas Crusade was a turning point for the Lion.
Okay.
A moment where he faced the darkness within himself and within the
Right.
galaxy.
He saw the true depths of the darkness.
It was a crucible that tempered his resolve,
It made him stronger.
but also deepened his sense of isolation.
But it also pushed him further away.
His belief that he could only truly rely on himself
Yeah.
and the loyalty of his legion.
His trust in his legion.
And it was this belief, this sense of isolation,
Isolation.
that would ultimately lead to the most tragic chapter in the Lion story,
Oh, no.
the fall of Caliban.
The fall of the Caliban.
After the Thramas Crusade,
Okay.
the Lion, weary
He was exhausted.
and burdened by the horrors he had witnessed,
He'd seen too much.
returned to his homeworld.
He went back to Caliban.
What awaited him there?
What awaited him was a betrayal that would shake the very foundations of the Dark Angels.
A betrayal from the heart.
Luther, his mentor, the man who had found him on Caliban
The man who raised him.
and guided him on his path to becoming a Primarch, had fallen to chaos.
It's hard to believe.
It's almost unthinkable.
Really?
Luther, the hero of Caliban.
The man who had stood beside the Lion through countless trials,
Yeah.
now a servant of the powers of darkness.
How could this happen?
What could have driven him to such an act of treachery?
The reasons for Luther's fall are shrouded in mystery,
Lost to time.
debated by scholars,
Argue endlessly.
and whispered about in the darkest corners of the Imperium.
The truth is out there somewhere.
Some believe it was resentment.
Yeah, a bitterness that festered within him.
The bitterness that festered within him as he watched his protege rise to power,
He saw the Lion ascend.
becoming a figure of legend while he remained in the shadows.
Fell behind.
Others claim that Luther was always susceptible to the whispers of chaos,
That the darkness was always there.
that the darkness had always lurked within him, waiting for the right moment to emerge.
Waiting to be unleashed.
The truth, like so much else about the Dark Angels, is hidden,
Hidden in the shadows.
buried beneath layers of secrecy and half-truths.
The Dark Angels guard their secrets.
But regardless of the reason, Luther's fall was a devastating blow to the Lion.
It broke his
A
herd.
personal betrayal that cut him to the core.
The ultimate betrayal.
Imagine the agony, the sense of disbelief.
Try to put yourself in his shoes.
Yeah.
The man who had been like a father to him.
Yeah.
The one who had taught him about honor and duty.
His mentor.
Now a sworn enemy.
His enemy.
A champion of the very forces he had dedicated his life to fighting.
A tragic turn of events.
It's a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions.
And the confrontation between them, the battle for the soul of Caliban,
The battle that would decide the fate of Caliban.
was a cataclysm that shattered the planet,
Caliban was no more.
leaving behind only fragments.
A shattered world.
A shattered world consumed by the warp.
Consumed by the darkness.
The fall of Caliban.
A turning point for the Dark Angels.
A moment that would forever define their identity,
Their very purpose.
their very purpose.
Mm.
And in the midst of this chaos,
In the heart of the storm.
this cataclysmic battle, the Lion disappeared.
Vanished without a trace.
Some say he was mortally wounded.
Struck down in battle.
Others claim he retreated into the depths of the rock.
To lick his wounds.
The mobile fortress monastery
Their new home.
that became the Dark Angel's new home,
A fortress in the void.
consumed by grief and the weight of his failure
The weight of his loss.
to save his friend, his brother.
The brother he had failed.
So the Lion, the Primarch, who had risen from the ashes of a death world,
The true survivor.
who had conquered countless enemies,
Victorious in countless battles.
who had faced down the horrors of the warp, was gone.
Vanished into legend.
Vanished into the mists of history. His fate, a mystery.
A mystery for the ages.
And his legion, the Dark Angels,
Is he unforgiven?
were left to grapple with the legacy of his fall.
The burden of their past.
The burden of their own secrets.
Secrets they would guard jealously.
And the eternal hunt for the fallen, those who had sided with Luther.
The hunt for their fallen brothers.
And embraced the darkness.
The hunt that would define them.
The fall of Caliban marked the end of an era.
The end of an age.
A descent into shadow and secrecy.
They embraced the darkness.
But it also set the stage for the lion's eventual return.
The lion would return.
A return that would herald a new chapter.
A new beginning.
In the saga of the Dark Angels.
The story continues.
A chapter that we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Join us next time.
But until then, keep your bolters loaded.
And your chain swords sharp.
And your faith in the Emperor strong.
The Emperor protects. Welcome back to the Warp Gate. Last time we explored the shadowed path of Lion L. Johnson.
It was quite a journey.
From his brutal upbringing on Caliban to the tragic fall of his homeworld.
It was rough.
And his subsequent disappearance.
Yeah. I mean, what a way to end the first part, right?
But the story of the lion doesn't end there.
It doesn't.
Oh, no.
No. What happens?
The whispers from the Watchers in the dark.
Who are the Watchers in the dark?
Oh, those enigmatic beings who guard the secrets of the Dark Angels.
Okay, so they're like the keepers of the secret.
Oh, yeah. They're the ones who know all the deep, dark secrets, tell of his awakening, his return to a galaxy consumed by the fires of the Great Rift.
I mean, it's like waking up from a nightmare.
Yeah.
To find the world on fire.
I mean, it's the worst possible time to wake up.
Right.
The Great Rift has torn reality asunder.
Yeah, things are bad.
Chaos is surging across the galaxy, and the Imperium is teetering on the brink of collapse.
It's not looking good.
But amidst this chaos, the lion returns.
Oh, wow. So talk about a dramatic entrance.
Talk about making an entrance. It begs the question.
So what kind of lion?
What kind of lion has emerged from this millennia-long slumber?
Has he been napping this whole time?
He has returned changed both physically and spiritually.
Okay, so this is not the same lion we saw before.
The warp has touched him, reshaped him, imbued him with new powers.
Warp shenanigans.
Always warp shenanigans.
That reflect the primal nature of Caliban.
The darkness he was born into.
The most intriguing of these is the ability known as Forest Walk.
Forest Walk.
A connection to a dimension called Mirror Caliban.
Mirror Caliban.
Okay, this sounds like something out of a gothic horror story.
It's a creepy place.
What is this place exactly?
That's hard to describe.
Is it some kind of warp-tainted reflection of Caliban?
Well, it's more than just a reflection.
What is it?
Think of it as a timeless echo of Caliban.
Oh, okay.
A primal wilderness untouched by the ravages of chaos.
So it's like a pure version of Caliban.
Existing outside the flow of linear time.
Time doesn't work there.
Time is weird there.
So it's like a pocket dimension.
It's a strange place.
It's a place of wild beauty.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But also of immense danger.
Yeah, it's not all sunshine and roses.
A realm where the lion can move freely.
He can go wherever he wants.
Appearing and disappearing at will, a ghost in the machine of reality.
He's like a phantom.
So it's not just a refuge.
No.
It's a tactical advantage.
A huge tactical advantage.
He can literally vanish into this other dimension.
Poof, he's gone.
And emerge wherever he chooses.
It makes him incredibly difficult to track, to predict.
So he's basically unpredictable.
He's like a phantom haunting the battlefield.
This ability must have sent shockwaves through the Imperium.
Oh, yeah. People were freaking out.
Imagine the rumors, the whispers spreading like wildfire through the ranks.
The lion is back.
The lion is back, and he's more dangerous than ever.
More dangerous than ever before.
But with the galaxy in such a state of turmoil, what are his priorities?
That's the question, isn't it?
Is he focused on reuniting the Imperium, crushing the forces of chaos, or something else entirely?
The lion, ever pragmatic, has established a bastion of stability amidst the chaos. The lion's protectorate...
So he's not messing around.
He's getting things done.
This coalition of star systems located in Imperium Nihilus.
That dark half of the galaxy cut off by the Great Rift.
Yeah, things are bad there.
It's a rough neighborhood.
Is a testament to his strategic thinking.
The lion is always thinking ahead.
So instead of immediately rushing off to join Gilliman's Indomitus crusade,
he's doing his own thing.
The lion is carving out his own domain, establishing a stronghold against the encroaching darkness.
He's building his power base.
That seems very much in line with his character, calculated, strategic, always thinking several steps ahead.
That's the lion we know and love.
Precisely.
Yeah.
The Lion's Protectorate is more than just a military force.
It's a symbol.
It's a beacon of hope in a sea of despair, a symbol of order in a realm of chaos.
He's bringing order to the chaos.
He's focused on consolidating his power.
Yeah, securing vital resources.
And establishing a network of alliances that will allow him to effectively combat the threats.
He's building a coalition.
That plague Imperium Nihilus.
A force to be reckoned with.
It makes you wonder if he's playing a longer game, perhaps even envisioning a scenario.
Oh, that's a good question.
Where he might challenge Guilliman's authority, seeking to reunite the Imperium under his own banner.
The Lion is ambitious.
That's a possibility that can't be dismissed.
No, it's definitely on the table.
The Lion has always been ambitious, driven by a deep sense of duty.
He wants what's best for the Imperium.
But also by a desire to shape the destiny of humanity in his own image.
He has his own vision.
The Great Rift has created a power vacuum.
An opportunity for someone to step up.
And the Lion, with his newfound powers and strategic brilliance,
He's a formidable figure.
is perfectly positioned to capitalize on the chaos.
He's in the right place at the right time.
But let's not forget about the Fallen.
Oh, the fall.
The Dark Angels have been obsessed with hunting them down.
It's their defining mission.
For millennia, a mission that has defined their very identity.
It's what they live for.
Has the Lion's return changed their approach, their relationship with these lost brothers?
It's complicated.
It's created a fascinating dynamic within the Legion.
Oh, it's shaking things up.
The whispers from the Unforgiven chapters, those successors of the Dark Angels who share their burden,
The chapters who carry the same secret?
suggest that the Lion is offering a path to redemption for the Fallen, a chance to atone for their betrayal,
Redemption for the fall.
and return to the fold.
A controversial move.
Redemption for traitors who sided with chaos.
It's a bold strategy.
That seems incredibly risky, even heretical.
Some might even say it's heresy.
It goes against everything the Imperium stands for.
It's a radical idea.
It makes you wonder if the Lion's long slumber, his exposure to the warp, has somehow changed his perspective.
Maybe the warp has changed him.
On good and evil, on forgiveness and punishment.
He's seeing things differently.
Perhaps. Or perhaps he sees a strategic advantage in reintegrating these lost brothers,
Maybe it's a calculated move.
bolstering the ranks of the Dark Angels against the myriad threats they face.
They need all the help they can get.
Remember, the Fallen are still Astartes warriors of unparalleled skill and experience.
They're formidable warriors.
Their knowledge of chaos, their tactics, could be invaluable
They know the enemy.
in the ongoing war against the forces of darkness.
They could be a powerful weapon.
But not all Dark Angels are welcoming this change, this shift towards forgiveness.
No, some are resistant.
Some see it as a betrayal of their oaths, a weakening of their resolve.
They see it as a betrayal of everything they stand for.
The hunt for the Fallen has been their guiding principle for millennia.
It's their sacred duty.
A sacred duty passed down from generation to generation.
A legacy of vengeance.
To suddenly abandon that mission, to embrace those they have sworn to destroy,
It's a hard pill to swallow.
must feel like a betrayal of their very core beliefs.
It shakes them to their core.
Exactly. The Lion's return has reopened old wounds, exposed deep divisions within the Legion.
It's caused a rift.
Some see him as a savior, a beacon of hope, who can guide them back from the brink of despair.
A new leader for a new age.
Others see him as a threat, a dangerous wildcard who might lead them astray down a path that ends in damnation.
They fear his motives.
It's a powder keg waiting to explode.
The tension is palpable.
And with the Imperium already teetering on the brink of collapse,
Things are bad enough as it is.
this internal conflict within the Dark Angels could have devastating consequences.
It could tear them apart.
It makes you wonder if the Lion's return, rather than unifying his Legion, might actually tear it apart.
A very real possibility.
That's a very real possibility. The Lion's actions, his motivations, are shrouded in secrecy.
It's hard to know what he's thinking.
He's a master manipulator, a player of the long game.
Always thinking several steps ahead.
It's impossible to know for certain what his true intentions are, what he hopes to achieve.
He keeps his cards close to his chest.
Speaking of manipulation and long games, we can't ignore the Lion's interactions with his fellow Primarchs.
The family reunion.
He's back in the game now, so to speak. Has he reconnected with any of his brothers, tried to rebuild those fractured relationships?
His interactions with his fellow Primarchs have been limited, to say the least.
Okay, so not exactly a warm welcome.
No, there's still some tension there.
His arrival coincided with Guilliman's Indomitus Crusade,
The Avenging Sun's big comeback tour.
a massive effort to reunite the Imperium.
Guilliman trying to put the pieces back together.
You would think that these two Primarchs both renowned strategists,
It's the best of the best.
both dedicated to the preservation of the Imperium.
They both want to save humanity.
Would find common ground, wouldn't you?
You'd think so.
You'd think they'd be natural allies. After all, Gelman is trying to rebuild the Imperium.
Yeah, picking up the pieces.
And the Lion has established a stronghold in one of its most vulnerable regions.
He's holding the line,
They seem to have shared goals,
at least on the surface.
even if their methods differ.
That's the key point.
That's the key point. Their methods, their personalities, their approaches to leadership are fundamentally
They're
different.
two very different people.
Gilman is a pragmatist, a builder focused on unity and consensus.
The consensus builder.
The Lion is a creature of shadow and secrecy.
The master of shadows.
His methods often clandestine, his motives difficult to discern.
Hard to know what he's really thinking.
So, not exactly best buds then.
No, quite.
Their relationship is one of wary respect, a grudging acknowledgement of each other's power and influence,
They tolerate each other.
but little genuine warmth or trust.
There's no love lost between them.
And what about the other loyalist Primarchs?
Yeah, what about the rest of the family?
Has he reached out to Vulcan, for example, or Jagatai Khan?
The salamander and the warhawk?
They were known to have been on relatively good terms with the Lion before the heresy.
Back in the good old days.
The Lion has kept his distance, his focus remaining firmly on the Lion's protectorate
He's got his priorities.
and the hunt for the fallen.
The eternal hunt.
Perhaps he fears that revealing too much about his plans, his methods, would jeopardize his mission.
He's playing it safe.
Or worse, drive a wedge between him and his brothers.
He doesn't want to cause more problems.
Remember, trust is a rare commodity in the 41st millennium,
Trust is hard to come by.
especially when dealing with Primarchs who have millennia of baggage,
They've got a lot of history.
of secrets and betrayals.
A lot of skeletons in the closet.
It's almost as if he's testing the waters, cautiously re-engaging with a wider Imperium,
Dipping his toes back in.
observing the players on the board before making his next move.
He's assessing the situation.
But speaking of secrets and betrayals, we can't ignore the elephant in the room,
Oh, here we go.
the question that looms over every discussion about Lionel Johnson. What about Luther,
Ah, yes,
a
Luther.
fallen angel,
The one who betrayed him.
imprisoned within the rock, a constant reminder of the Lion's greatest failure?
The ghost that haunts him.
His fate remains a closely guarded secret within the Dark Angels.
They're not talking.
Some believe he is still alive, his essence bound to the rock, his chaotic power contained,
A prisoner of his own making.
but not extinguished.
A ticking time bomb.
A ticking time bomb waiting to explode.
A threat that could emerge at any moment.
Others whisper that he is no more. His physical form withered, his soul consumed by the warp.
Consumed by the darkness.
But the truth, like so much else about the Dark Angels, is veiled in secrecy,
Shrouded in mystery.
protected by oaths and shrouded in ritual.
The Dark Angels guard their secrets.
And the Lion. Has he visited Luther? Confronted his former mentor, his fallen brother? Has he tried to offer him redemption or perhaps sought answers, some explanation for his betrayal?
The nature of their interactions, if any, is unknown.
So we don't know what's going on.
The Dark Angels guard their secrets jealously.
They're not telling.
And the fate of Luther is perhaps their most closely guarded truth.
It's a mystery.
But one thing is certain.
What's that?
The shadow of Luther's betrayal hangs heavy over the Lion, a constant reminder of the fragility of loyalty, of the insidious power of chaos,
It's a heavy burden to bear.
to corrupt even the most noble of hearts.
It's a fascinating and tragic story. A tale of brotherhood betrayal and the eternal struggle between light and darkness.
A classic tale.
But as we delve deeper into the Lion's strategic brilliance in the next segment, I can't help but wonder, does he see Luther as a threat, a potential weapon to be unleashed upon his enemies, or as a burden, a reminder of his own failings? It's a question that will continue to haunt the Line and perhaps the Imperium for millennia to come. More on that after a brief word from our sponsors.
Indeed, the saga of Lionel Johnson is far from over. His return has shaken the foundations of the Imperium, and his actions will continue to shape the destiny of humanity for centuries to come.
Welcome back to the Warp Gate. We spent this episode exploring the enigmatic figure of Lionel Johnson, Primarch of the Dark Angels.
Oh yeah, he's a complex one.
We've seen him rise from the ashes of a death world, conquer entire star systems, face down the horrors of the Horus Heresy, and vanish into the mists of legend.
Like a phantom.
But his return in the Area Indomitus has only deepened the mystery surrounding him,
Oh yeah, he's full of surprises.
raising more questions than answers.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Indeed, the Lion's actions, His motivations, his very essence,
Yeah.
seem to be shrouded in a perpetual twilight.
A blend of light and shadow.
A blend of light and shadow, duty and secrecy.
He's hard to pin down.
It's as if he embodies the duality of the Imperium itself.
Yeah, that struggle between hope and despair.
The noble ideals of unity and progress.
Yeah, the dream of a united humanity.
Juxtaposed with the harsh realities of war and sacrifice.
The price of survival.
It's that very duality that makes him such a fascinating
Oh, yeah.
and frankly terrifying figure.
He's a force to be reckoned with.
Is he a savior? A beacon of hope? In a galaxy teetering on the brink of annihilation?
Or is he something else?
Or is he a harbinger of something darker?
A shadow in the warp.
A force that might ultimately hasten the Imperium's demise?
It's a question that haunts the Imperium.
Those are questions that plague even the highest echelons of the Imperium.
Oh, yeah.
The High Lords of Terra,
The rulers of the Imperium.
the Inquisitorial Orders,
The guardians of faith.
even Guilliman himself.
The avenging sun.
They all view the Lion's return with a mixture of hope and trepidation.
They don't know what to make of him.
He's a wild card, a force of nature that could tip the scales in either direction.
He's a game changer.
And this uncertainty, this air of mystery, extends to his own legion,
The Dark Angels.
the Dark Angels. We've discussed how the Lion's return has created a rift within the unforgiven,
Yeah.
a tension between those who see him as a savior
None with hope.
and those who view him as a dangerous radical.
A threat to their way of life.
But this internal conflict, this struggle for the soul of the Dark Angels,
Yeah.
is just one facet of a much larger question.
What is the Lion's ultimate goal?
What is the Lion's ultimate goal? What is he trying to achieve?
The answer, as always, is elusive.
It's like trying to catch smoke.
The Lion's plans, his strategies are hidden
Yeah.
behind layers of secrecy and obfuscation.
He's a master of shadow.
Even his closest advisors,
The ones who've been with him the longest.
those who have served him for millennia, claim to only glimpse fragments of his grand design.
They only see pieces of the puzzle.
It's like he's playing a multi-dimensional game of chess,
Oh, wow.
moving his pieces across the galactic board,
So he's thinking long-term,
anticipating his opponent's moves, setting traps
traps that could take centuries to spring.
that won't spring for centuries.
He's playing the long game.
He's a master manipulator, a strategist who operates on a scale that's almost incomprehensible to mortal minds.
He's thinking on a different level.
But amidst all the secrecy,
Right.
all the strategic maneuvering,
All the mystery.
one thing remains constant.
Okay, what's that?
The Lion's unwavering dedication to the survival of the Imperium.
But how does he define survival?
That's a good question.
Does it mean preserving the status quo?
Keeping things the way they are.
Upholding the rigid structures of the imperial creed?
The dogma of the Imperium.
Or does he envision a more radical transformation?
Something new.
A reshaping of the Imperium into something new. Something that can effectively combat the ever-growing threats
A new Imperium for a new age.
it faces.
That's the crux of the matter.
The big question.
The Lion's vision for the Imperium, his ultimate goal, remains a mystery.
A mystery shrouded in shadow.
But based on his actions, his decisions, we can glean a few insights.
Okay, so let's look at what he's done.
His establishment of the Lion's Protectorate.
That bastion of
The
stability.
bastion of stability in the chaotic realm of Imperium Nihilith.
Yeah, a bright spot in a dark corner of the galaxy.
Suggests a pragmatic approach.
Okay.
A focus on consolidating power and securing resources.
He's building a power base.
His willingness to offer redemption to the fallen.
Yeah, that was a controversial move.
A controversial move that has alienated some within his legion.
A lot of people didn't like that.
Hints at a more flexible, perhaps even unorthodox approach to combating chaos.
So he's not afraid to break with tradition.
He's willing to bend the rules.
He's not afraid to break with tradition to challenge long-held beliefs,
To do what he thinks is necessary.
if it serves his ultimate purpose.
The ends justify the means.
And then there's his relationship with Guilliman.
The two most powerful Primarchs in the Imperium.
He hasn't openly challenged the Avenging Sun's authority,
Oh.
but he hasn't fully embraced it either.
He's keeping his distance.
He maintains a certain distance,
A watchful neutrality.
a watchful neutrality that suggests he's biding his time, assessing the situation, waiting for the right moment
Waiting for his opportunity.
to make his move.
He's a patient hunter.
It's almost as if he's playing a waiting game, allowing Guilliman to rebuild the Imperium to consolidate his power
Yeah, letting Guilliman do the heavy lifting.
before revealing his own hand.
He's keeping his cards close to his chest.
Or perhaps he's waiting for Gilliman to make a mistake,
Waiting for him to slip up,
to stumble,
to show weakness.
creating an opportunity for him to step in and seize control.
He's always watching, always waiting.
The lion is a predator, a hunter,
Born and bred,
who has spent millennia honing his skills.
a master of his craft.
He's patient, calculating, and always ready to strike when the moment is right.
He'll seize his opportunity.
And in the fragmented, war-torn galaxy of the 41st millennium,
Yeah, the galaxy's a mess.
the opportunities for a cunning predator
wow.
are endless.
It's a hunter's paradise.
It's a chilling thought, but one that can't be ignored.
No, it's a very real possibility.
But regardless of his ultimate goal,
Yeah.
his long-term strategy,
Whatever he's planning, one thing is certain. The lion's return has irrevocably altered the course of the Imperium.
he's changed the game.
He's a force that can't be controlled, a wild card that defies prediction.
He's unpredictable.
His very presence creates ripples of change, of uncertainty that spread throughout the galaxy.
He's a disruptor.
And as we conclude this deep dive into the enigmatic world of Lionel Johnson,
What a journey.
we leave you with this final thought. The lion may sleep, but he never truly rests.
That's a little ominous.
His watchful gaze is upon the galaxy.
He's always watching.
His hand poised to strike.
He's ready to act.
What will his next move be? What fate awaits the Imperium under his shadowed wings?
Only time will tell, but one thing is certain.
The saga continues.
The saga of Lionel Johnson is far from over.
His story is just beginning.
His story is a tapestry woven from threads of duty, ambition, loyalty, and betrayal.
A true epic.
And the chapters yet to be written promise to be both epic and unpredictable.
You can't wait to see what happens next.
So until next time on the Warp Gate,
Keep your bolters loaded.
and your faith in the Emperor strong.
The Emperor protects.